He's done it again, Stephen Harper, that is spoken the truth. He has said that Islamism is the biggest threat to our security. This causing the NDP to get all angry. They apparently think it's the Mennonites and the Mormons who will blow us all up. Author and activist Tarek Fatah thinks Harper has it right. You've been working so bravely and so diligently on this issue for so long. You must have been delighted when the Prime Minister affirmed you.
I was taken aback. I had to wake up my wife and say, can you imagine? He said that.
Your wife, I know your wife, she must have killed you when you woke her up.
No, she was shocked as well, because for 10 years I've been hitting my head against the wall saying the issue is not religion. It's not Islam, the issue is Islamism. And most Western reporters or politicians or the intelligentsia find it too complicated to understand. And it struck me with the ease with which the Prime Minister said that he understands this issue. And this morning I told an American network, I said, had he been the President of the United States of America, we would have solved this problem in 5 years. Yeah. Because we've made no progress in 10, because no one seems to understand that you could take 100 Osama bin Ladens and kill them, and there'd be 1,000 to replace. Because, yes.
You mentioned President Barack Obama, peace be upon him. You know he would not use this sort of language. Now, there's an argument that George Bush perhaps was a bit callow and raw in the way he used certain words. But if Obama would say, this is not about Islam, but Islamism is a threat to our security, it's a massive threat to the security and safety of other Muslims, but he's so obsessed with being politically correct, he won't do this.
I think he's the first black man with a white man's guilt. And he dare not utter those words, because within his office, to compensate for appointing a Jew as a chief of staff, a former IDF soldier, he now has 3 or 4 people within the White House and his circle who are very much influenced by Islamism. And even the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's chief of staff is heavily influenced by the ideology of Islamism. And this is not about Islam. You could be an atheist like Tariq Ali, but support Islamism.
Tariq Ali being
the British Trotskyite, who doesn't believe in God or Muhammad or Allah, but believes in the doctrine of Islamism, the solidarity and anti-Americanism. And Islamism is rooted in the Egyptian fascist ideology of the 20s and 30s. The word Islamism is not mine or anyone from the West. It's a doctrine and ideology called Al-Islamiyah by the Muslim Brotherhood in the 30s and 40s.
And let's talk about this for a moment, because again, I know this can seem fairly complex, but it's not really. The Muslim Brotherhood, and I think it is, look, even Zionist groups, Jabotinsky was flirting with a form of fascism. All sorts of people were influenced by the fascism of Northern Europe in particular in the 30s. The Muslim Brotherhood was influenced by this. It is quite fascistic. But today, it is the primary party in Egypt. It may well win any forthcoming elections. The ideology of the Muslim Brotherhood could rule the most powerful country in the Arab world.
And thanks to Barack Obama and the short-sighted policies of the State Department and Georgetown University's Near East Institute that produces most of the staff for the State Department and is funded by the Saudis. So we now have a situation where Prime Minister Harper is the first Western leader to utter the word Islamism, although it sounded as if he was saying Islamicism, which is no word, but he's identified it. And I'm glad that this debate is taking place, because the Muslim Brotherhood is not just infiltrated Egypt or Libya, it has infiltrated the White House and Canada. We have our schools, our universities, our security institutions, our police, where these young men, and there are hardly any women in this, the women's role is to support the agenda of the Brotherhood, which is very misogynist. But primarily its goal is, Michael, to destroy Western civilization.
Okay, a little bit of history here, because Sun News, thank God, we're giving people an alternative to what they're seeing elsewhere. The Muslim Brotherhood, President Nasser in Egypt, he actually imprisoned many members of the Brotherhood. He was actually rather tolerant of Egyptian Christians. Sadat came to power, and Sadat released many of them.
Yeah, because he was from the Brotherhood.
He signed a peace treaty with Israel.
He was even with the Nazis.
And they shot him. He signed a peace treaty with Israel, and those same people he had released from prison killed him. Mubarak controlled them. I'm not saying he was a perfect man, far from it. but now they are free, and there is a very good chance they will be in power. If they control Egypt, they will control other Arab countries. So the Arab Spring that we were told on the CBC and elsewhere was lovely, and it's all going to be wonderful and flowers and candy, could be very different.
It could be different, but it can be salvaged as well.
Can it really?
It can be if people supporting Muslims or liberal Muslims or defending the notion of separation of religion and state stand up and say...
How many are there? Tarek, let's be candid here. Again, we're not doing the flummery you get elsewhere.
I'm not, I don't know.
You would not win an election in any Arab country right now, you yourself and your ideology.
Why do you think in Bangladesh...
Not an Arab country.
In Arab country, you can. The problem is that the young men and women who represent liberal Islam or secularism do not have a political force. They do not have the money. I don't have a penny to fight the mosque structure that is funded by the Saudis openly.
In this country?
In Canada. None of us. We are 9 to 5 Muslims who go to do a job. The mosque has 9 to 5 free to do the propaganda. It is stacked against us, and it is stacked against us because both President Bush and President Obama tinkered with the Islamists and invited them into the White House.
Thank the Lord that Stephen Harper said what he did, and thank the Lord that I can count you as a friend. Good to have you here.
Thank you.